Okay, grade 10s. Something that's completely new this year is number lines. Okay, so what's going to happen is the question is going to ask you to describe a set of numbers on a number line. That's what's going to happen. Okay? When representing numbers graphically, they are referring to a number line. Please take note that each number within the number system has its own unique way of being represented. Okay. And what I mean by that is the numbers within the number system being natural numbers, whole numbers, integers, rational, irrational, and real number systems. Okay, but remember all of that forms a part of the real number system, and then we have non-real that sits on the outside. Okay, so first thing I need you guys to take note of is, and I need you guys to write this down. When representing something on a number line, there's a couple of things you need to consider. Okay, first thing being your inequality signs over here. Okay, your inequality signs are very important. The first inequality sign is a greater than or equal to. Okay, so it's not just a greater than or equal to. Yes. Is that better? Okay. Right, which means what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this up for you. Can you see that x lies in between these two numbers? Okay. If I break it up for you, x is going to be greater than or equal to -1. X is going to be less than 3. Okay. So, when representing on a number line, these inequality signs are very important because they go hand in hand with a dot you need to place on each number. Okay. When we have the inequality sign that has the line at the bottom, either being greater than or less than, okay, either one of those, you are going to use an including dot, which is a dot that is colored in. That shows that it's included. Okay, so if I had to explain to you, x is going to be greater than or equal to -1. So if it's greater than, it goes more towards the positive side. Are you with me? So which would be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But now it's not going to exclude the -1, it's going to include the -1. So it's going to be -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, because that -1 is included. Do you understand? But it's going to be less than 3. So it's not going to now start at 3, it's going to be 2, 1, 0, -1. That 3 is not included because of the inequality sign that accompanies the 3. Okay, do you understand? Right. So, with the normal inequality sign, without the line at the bottom, that is an excluding inequality sign. Goes hand in hand with the open dot. Okay, are you with me? Now, remember when we started off, I said there's a couple of things we need to consider before we even start representing it on a number line. First thing being your inequality sign, which I've now explained. And the second thing being your, we can kind of call it a restriction or what part of the number system we are working with. Okay. And what part of the number system are we working with, grade 10s? No, look here. X is an element of natural numbers. Okay, so this is just explaining to you that X is an element. Okay, X is an element of natural, I'm just going to use the symbol, natural numbers. Okay, that's the two things we need to consider before we even start drawing the number line. Right, and quickly tell me, where do natural numbers start? With what number? Okay, 1, 2, 3, and they continue up to infinity. Okay, they continue up to infinity. Now that we have looked at our inequality signs, we know that x is going to lie in between those two numbers, and we know that x is going to be an element of natural numbers. We can now start drawing our number line. Okay. So, your number line doesn't necessarily have to be drawn to scale. Okay, where does my number line start? Where does it start? Negative 1. And where does it end? 3. Okay, so this is going to indicate where your number line must start at end. Start at negative 1, end at 3. Okay, and everything in between is going to be negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Okay. Right, grade 10s. So our number line we said is going to be indicated by the numbers in which needs to be represented graphically. But now, that little piece at the end, x is an element of natural numbers, okay, is going to tell you where your number line needs to start or end. Okay, now you've got to think to yourself, negative 1, is that a natural number? So our number line is not going to start at negative 1 because negative 1 is not a natural number. Okay, it's an integer. Okay, is 0 a natural number? Okay, no, 0 is a whole number. Correct. 1, is that a natural number? So that's where our number line is going to start. Okay, and on 1, do we need to have an open dot or a closed dot? A closed dot. Okay, so we're going to have a closed dot on 1. We're going to have a closed dot on 2. And we are going to have a open dot on 3. Because at 3, we've got a excluding crocodile mouth, which is an open dot. Okay. Now your next question is going to say, ma'am, why don't we join all 3 dots? Why do we not join all 3 dots? Okay? Because if I had to join it, I'm just going to use a pencil. Okay. If I had to join these 3 dots, do you not agree that is telling me that every number here in the middle is included? 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, and so on. But my restriction is x is an element of natural numbers, and all these numbers in between are not natural numbers. Are you with me? Okay. Can we then conclude that the only time we connect our dots is if it's x is an element of real numbers? Because real numbers include rational numbers, which are decimals. Okay, are you with me? Okay, so in this instance, we do not join our dots because x needs to be an element of natural numbers. Do we understand? All of us. Okay, fantastic. Can I move on? Okay, second example. You're going to see it's kind of going to be repetitive. If you can get into the habit of checking out 2 things before you start drawing your number line, you're going to be fine. Okay. Right, the next one, let's have a look. What is the part of the number system that needs to be represented on this number line?
Whole.
X is an element of whole numbers. Okay, so quickly tell me, where do whole numbers begin?
0.
Okay, so we know our number line will start on 0. Okay, and our whole numbers continue up to infinity. But for now, it's got no relevance. Just know that it goes up to infinity. Okay, so knowing that it's an element of whole numbers, are our dots going to be connected? No. Remember, the only time we connect our dots if it says x is an element of real numbers. Because whole numbers don't include decimals. Whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. No decimals included there. Okay. Right, so let's start with our number line. and then we'll have a look at our cocktail mouths. Where's our number line starting? Yes? Where's it starting? -1. Where's it ending? 3, and then you just add everything in between. Right. So now we think, whole numbers. Is -1 included in a whole number? Okay, so we're not going to start there. Is 0 a whole number? Yes. Okay, so that's where our number line is going to begin. And am I going to have an open dot or a closed dot? What crocodile mouth do we have? Closed. Okay, so it's going to be a closed dot on 0. What dot on 1? Closed. What dot on 2? Closed. And what dot on 3? Okay, and that's that. We do not join it because it doesn't say x is an element of real numbers. Okay, do we understand? Are we sure? Okay, then we can copy down the third example. Okay, can I start explaining the third example? Okay, third example. Let's have a look at two different things. First thing being, what part of the number system do they want us to include on this number line? And that being integers. Good job. Okay, integers. And integers are all negative numbers to positive numbers going to infinity in both directions. Okay? Right. Let's draw a number line. Okay, and if we're working with integers, are our dots going to be connected? No, the only time we connect it if it says x is an element of real numbers. Right. We know that x is still going to lie in between -1 and 3. Okay, so now we think to ourselves, because x is an element of integers, can we start our number line on -1? Yes, because -1 is an integer. Okay, so on -1, do I have an open or a closed dot? Closed dot, and I'm going to have a closed dot on 0, 1, 2, and on 3 it's going to be open. Because at 3 we've got a excluding inequality sign. Okay, yes. So technically speaking, this 3 doesn't exist on this number line. Okay, does that make sense? Right. Yes.
So even if it's, say the last number, the number that you start is 7, the 7 is going to be open and there is 7.
Yes, yes, correct. Okay, correct. Okay, next example, please write that down. Okay, first thing we need to consider is what part of the number system they want us to represent on the number line, and what is it? Okay, ding ding ding, red light should be going off, what's going to happen? Okay, solid line. So are we going to have to go and put dots on every single number now? If we can just put a dot on the first number and the last number connected, that's telling me that everything in between will be included. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so x is going to be an element of real numbers. Okay, x is going to be an element of real numbers. Yes.
You didn't marks for saying that.
No. This is just for you to understand, to make it easier for drawing your number line. We don't just give marks for free in maths, unfortunately. Okay, where does our number line start? -1 and it ends at 3 and then everything in between, okay, will be included. So previously we had to go and put a dot on every single number. But because this is indicating that it's a real number, what dot will we have on -1? A closed one, because it's an including inequality sign. Then we can skip all these and we can jump straight to the 3, and what dot will we have on the open, because it's an excluding inequality sign, and all you do is you can connect it, because real numbers include everything in between the 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Yes, I'm going to. Okay, are we okay? We understand? So the only time we draw a solid straight stripe is if it says x is an element of real numbers. Okay. The next example. Can you see how this example differs to the previous ones?
Yes.
Okay, so you see here x does not lie in between two numbers, however, it's giving you two separate values. So it's separated with a or. Off is Afrikaans, but it's supposed to be or. So it will be x must be less than -1 or x is greater than or equal to 3. Again, what is it telling you here? Okay, real numbers, so we don't need to go and put dot, 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 dot. It's going to be a solid stripe, but because it's separated by an or, is our line going to be joined, or is our line going to go in different directions? Okay, it's going to go in different directions, because it's not going to lie in between anymore. It doesn't lie in between. One is going to be greater than, and one is going to be less than. Okay, does that make sense? Right, so we draw a number line. We've got our first number is, okay, -1, and our second number is 3. Grade 10s, please know that you always put your smallest number on the left and your larger number on the right. Okay. So let's have a look at the first part of this question. The first part of this question, so we separated with an or, so let's look at the first half. The first half says that x needs to be less than -1. So let's start off by just checking. What dot am I going to have on the -1? An open or a closed dot? An open dot, because it's an excluding inequality sign. Right. And does x need to be greater than or less than that -1? Less than, right? The crocodile mouth is eating the -1, which means x needs to be less than -1. So our arrow needs to go towards the negative side, because remember, the further along you move away from 0 on your number line, the smaller the numbers get. So if x is less than -1, it needs to go more towards the negative side. So that's the first half. Do you understand? Okay, so this piece over here is represented by that. And the second half says, let's first check, what dot am I going to have on 3? An open or a closed dot? Okay, a closed dot, because it's an including inequality sign. So let's have a look now which way our arrow is going to go. X needs to be greater than or equal to 3, which means we need to move to the right. Okay, more towards the positive side because it needs to be greater than. Okay, do we understand? Do you see the difference when x lies in between and when it's separated by an or?